Yes, Sir Hairless here. Today we are back with a Patreon request. Thank you to Chuck for this one. This one was apparently inspired by my Valhalla Calling reaction by Voiceplay. I imagine part of this inspiration came from the fact that in that video I included a clip of some Mongolian throat singing. This song is called Wolf Totem and it is by a group called The Who. They are a Mongolian folk metal band. I'd never heard of them, but this song has nearly 100 million views on YouTube. Here on the screen is the opening paragraph of their Wikipedia entry if you'd like to pause and have a quick read. Mongolian folk metal band. This video does have over a minute of footage without music, so I'll be playing that footage whilst I go through the introduction. I don't know what to expect here. I'm not familiar with metal music really. I know some songs and a new artist, Dan Vask, has recently graced the Sir Hairless channel. Folk music, yeah, I mean, I know some folk music, but it's a very, very broad term. Mongolian music, no, I don't know any Mongolian music, I don't think. A brief introduction into this group. The members studied at the Mongolian State Music and Dance Conservatory. There they practiced Mongolian throat singing and traditional Mongolian music. They wanted to try heavy metal whilst incorporating some traditional instruments into the mix. Their name, The Who, is apparently Mongolian for human beings. Yeah, no idea what to expect with this, so let's get straight into it. Alright, I mean, okay, I feel this is where the flow kind of changes a bit, so let's do a pause here, go over some initial thoughts. This is obviously very different to anything I've seen or heard before, so I think I probably have a fair bit to go over. If you want to skip my thoughts, go to the timestamp here. First things first, the aesthetic. They've set the scene here. I feel like I'm ready to go into battle. We have the footage before the music starts. It reminds me of how I imagine battles of centuries past to have been. The approaching from over the horizon on foot or on horseback. I have no doubt that's probably the intended imagery here, especially because of, you know, him on the horse there at the front. The bikers as well, how cool. The first bit of instrumental music we hear, not including the beat or this bit, comes now. This instrument, I believe, is the morin khur. I believe the X in Cyrillic is more of an H sound than a K sound. In English, it's spelt morin khur. Apparently, it's known as the horsehead fiddle. When we hear it now, and in the next phrase, there's this drone at the bottom that is ever present. I think of it as this E flat. But it's actually in between two notes. It's in between here and here. It is closer to an E flat though. So I'll call it that if we need a reference point. I can't wait for someone to comment about microtonality. That's not a discussion for this video. I do wonder though if the microtonal tuning is intentional. All microtonal means is any notes that are in between these intervals that we're familiar with by Western musical standards. We get these whistles in the background, which I imagine are meant to replicate animal noises, probably bird noises. I have no idea if that's an actual bird noise or if it's produced by some kind of instrument. And the music is becoming obviously more tense. We're getting these agitated rhythms played by the morin khur. The beat is growing in intensity, it's becoming louder, and we're getting additional beats now as we progress through. It's such a primal feel that is being created. And then we get these two chords here. When they move up in pitch, it's genuinely difficult to say with conviction what interval it is, because the notes are fluctuating microtonally between notes that we're familiar with. It's not quite hitting them, then hitting them, not quite hitting them again. It's obviously an intentionally rough sound, not prim and proper, and it gets the heart racing, which I imagine is completely the intended effect. Yeah, I mean, that first impression that I'm getting here of war, I think is clearly what the music is intended to conjure up in us. These lyrics, let's look up the lyrics. There are a lot of battle references here, whether it be crushing or racing, and many animal references too. I wonder if this bears any cultural significance or not. As for the singing technique, very, very interesting singing technique. It hurts my throat just thinking about it. What's going on with the vocal cords here is guttural. Perfect for warfare, especially with this rolled R sound. That's being incorporated into the word so naturally, and especially when coupled with the fact it's a call and response. The leader, the main singer, and then the army, the other singers, repeating what he's saying. And the instruments have dropped out at this point, so the only musical side of things that we get is from the voices, from their chanting. It sounds like a kind of hybrid between speaking and singing. The tonal center, musically speaking, is that drone note we heard earlier, the E flat. But there's melodic freedom within the chants, as long as they don't deviate too far away from it. There are a few voices providing harmony too. One of the most archaic harmonies we can get, the bare fifth, otherwise called an open fifth, or in the guitar world, a power chord, which is probably more relevant to metal fans. Having no third note means we aren't definitively told if we're in minor, sad, or major, happy tonality. And then we get this instrument coming in. If we pause at the right point, we can see in the light that there are 3 strings. I wonder if this is a tovshur, which apparently are 2 or 3 stringed lute instruments, or a modified guitar to imitate a tovshur, or a modified tovshur to imitate a guitar. Either way, it's pretty cool, not just aesthetically, but the sound it's making as well. Almost just like a slightly more primal version of a guitar. We hear the main riff now as well. Now we're also no longer microtonal. We're in tune by Western musical standards. And then when the morin hur enters, it outlines very clearly a minor third. As we said earlier, they were omitting this third note for a much more archaic sound. But now it has arrived for the more modern sounding segment of the music. Yeah, very interesting, very different to something that I'd normally be listening to, or watching for that matter. Alright, let's carry on. Alright, let's do another pause there. Copyright reasons. Yeah, I have such conflicting thoughts about this. I'm fascinated by it and almost intimidated by it as well. Alright, let's go over and talk about some more of what we've just heard. I mean, usually I talk about the music from a harmonic standpoint, chord changes, why they happen, that kind of thing. But with this, I don't have much to go on because there's almost no harmonic variety. We hear this open fifth we spoke about earlier, literally playing the whole time. I often say repeated notes tend to be catchy because subconsciously they're easier to remember and perhaps provide some kind of safety in what we're hearing, some familiarity, if you will. With something that's as repeated as this, if you enjoy the music, I imagine it sort of sends you into a trance-like state. It makes you want to bop your head, move in rhythm to the music, especially when we consider this warlike nature to the music. And the video definitely helps. I'm seeing them all in the background going like that, and I'm pretty sure I was doing that as well. I imagine there's nothing quite like the feeling of being at one with your fellow brothers in arms, such as with music like this. The variety that we do get comes in the melody. We hear this idea. And then when it repeats itself, it's just in the reverse order. Again, it's only 3 notes, so the idea of repeated notes coming into play with them alternating between the 2 versions we hear. Repetition, repetition, repetition. It's a cool video, a very, very cool aesthetic. Not my aesthetic, but it looks cool, I can say that for sure. Onto the singing itself, the Mongolian throat singing. I find it crazy what the voice can do. I understand there are different types of throat singing and they all kind of revolve around the basis of producing overtones. I'll try and find some clips of that and insert them here. You probably have to wear headphones to really be able to hear the effect of those overtones. They're quite crazy. Before the song or the video even started, we did hear some overtones. But I didn't show that earlier. So back to repeated notes. I don't know if this bit counts as a repeated note because it's constant. But again, we're hearing these constant open fifths throughout the vocals. The main line, this sounds like the Kargira style. It's tricky to hear the overtones with the heavy instrumentation in the background, but I am definitely listening out for it in this performance. Their name, The Who, I like it. One, it's a kind of primal noise, isn't it? Who, who, kind of like someone blowing out quickly. If someone's going for a new PB in the gym or something. But with this being their name, meaning human beings in Mongolian, by repeatedly exclaiming it, this could mean many things. It could be this unity of humans together. It could just be a sound, quite primal. It could be them chanting their own name. I don't know what their intention is here, but it could be many things, and I like this idea of keeping us kind of thinking about it and guessing. This bit... Yeah, I wouldn't want to hear that in the middle of the night if I was home alone. It makes me feel quite agitated. Maybe agitated isn't the right word to use here. I'm not really familiar with this style of music at all. But, for example, I find this unnerving. It's physically affecting me, like music so often does, but instead of relaxing me or calming me like some of the other music we've listened to on this channel has done, it's making my body think, what's this new art form I've been exposed to? How do I react to it? I find it really strange, like the music has confused my body. Like this bit. I don't find that to be a pleasant sound. I know being a pleasant sound probably is not the point of it, and I appreciate it. I'd say that this music is designed to be intimidating, but I'm also finding it a bit catchy. It's really causing mental conflict, which I guess is a good thing, kind of like a surprise. All right, let's carry on to the end. The wolves howling. That was a cool effect here as well. Almost like screeching or fireworks or, I don't know, something. Yeah, I mean, that's, completely different. I had no idea what to expect, and I think I'm still a bit confused by it all. There wasn't too much different that we heard in the last section, but there were a few things, so let's go over them before wrapping it up. We got this nice cinematic moment where suddenly things have come back a bit. I feel like we can relax a little bit now. I don't know. It's definitely suspenseful. Our attention is drawn to the Morinhur. For the first time in over a minute. Now we're in the lower register again. A less prominent sound than we've been hearing in the upper registers. We're starting to get a textural build-up too. That's a cool effect there. We can now really hear the microtones in and around the tonal center of the E flat. Every single frequency either side of it, and because of the overtones elsewhere, are kind of there. And then after that we get this high E flat coming in through the strings. I find that to be the catchiest bit, actually. It's like these grace notes, as they're called, where you quickly touch a note before going to the main note over and over. Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. Maybe I'm just that way inclined to latch onto the more melodic items that we hear. But I think it stands out amidst everything else, which is now quite low in general. And this bit is a bit more jumpy. Okay, well, again, I'll just say that's different to anything I've heard before, really. Very unique to me. There were definitely some elements of it that I preferred to other elements. I don't know if I'd choose to listen to this. Maybe I would, depending on my situation. This could be quite good to hype you up for something, a sports match, or hopefully not a battle or something. Or if this is your type of music, I imagine it would be great to see at a gig, a live performance. I certainly appreciate it for what it is, how they're combining their cultural heritage with modern genres, how unique it is overall as a sound. It clearly positively affects many people. As I said, nearly 100 million views on YouTube. So it's definitely interesting to experience that. It's just quite different from what I'm used to and what I typically like. Alright, thanks again for this request, and thank you to everyone for watching. Would appreciate a like and subscribe. If you like my content, want to support me, join the community, vote on future polls, you can do so by joining the Patreon or YouTube memberships linked below, and I will see you next time.